There are multiple reports showing the pandemic led to more cases of child abuse across the country. That's why we need places like the Child Advocacy Center. The organization's annual Serve It Up with Love tennis tournament is happening later this month. Andy Wynn, executive director of the Child Advocacy Center in Mobile, is joining us live. Thank you for being here, Andy. So did the pandemic cause a spike in child abuse locally?
We're not 100% sure at this point, but the indicators are saying yes, it has. We know that our data lags behind usually about 15 months. But what we're seeing is the number of kids who've attempted suicide is increased by about 25%. There's been about, and these are national numbers, it's about a 25% increase in emergency room visits for children and adolescents for mental health issues. And we also know that about 60% of all the reports are from what are called mandated reporters, like school teachers, the counselors in schools, police officers. So the interaction that kids have had in this past year because of lockdown has been somewhat limited. So we're not 100% sure. We do know that reports on a national level are down about 20%. And that's about what we're seeing here at the Child Advocacy Center. But since January, things have started slowly picking back up.
Could you tell us how numbers during the pandemic compare to previous years, say 2 years ago, 5 years ago?
Well, I don't know exactly 5 years ago. I don't keep stuff, in fact, that far back. But I can tell you what it was about a year ago. In 2019, we had about 500 kids come through. In 2020, we had about 380 kids come through. We actually had more therapy sessions in 2020 with kids than we did, which was about 2,400 sessions with these kids, compared to about 2,200 in 2019. One of our strong suits is what we call multidisciplinary team approach to dealing with kids. And the numbers were a little bit off again. In 2020, there were 280. 2019, there were 360. And the first quarter of this year, there's been about 90. So we're about back to where we were in 2019.
It still seems like a lot, though, Andy. I mean, does it to you?
Well, it is. And the thing that scares me the most, Cherish, is the fact that we know we get somewhere between 10 and 40% of the kids who need us. So, in essence, the numbers really should be a lot higher. And again, that's national data, state data. We got all kind of numbers, that you can go through, but there are 28,000 reports of abuse in Alabama. Again, that was 2019. We don't have 20 yet, involving 48,000 kids. That's a city. So in essence, child abuse is kind of a silent pandemic for these kids, and it does have lifelong consequences, just like a health pandemic can.
And you mentioned that a lot of times teachers contact the Child Advocacy Center. So it's really a lot of times up to us as adults to keep our eyes open and be advocates for these children.
It is critical. That's where most of them, kids usually don't tell. They're frightened to tell. They've been told not to tell anybody. They're scared of doing that. And, they depend on us, just like in every other aspect of their life. But it's even more critical with abuse. Without people saying, getting it stopped, it's not going to stop.
Okay, Andy, I do want to mention your 15th Serve It Up with Love tennis tournament is happening Sunday, April 25th and Tuesday, April 27th. How does that help the Child Advocacy Center? How are we helping those kids who really need it?
Well, about 75% of all our funding is private funding, is fundraisers. We couldn't have them last year during the pandemic, so it's very difficult for us. But it helps us pay for everything from our therapists here counseling the kids. We have family advocates who work them through the court process because we want to have the offenders prosecuted if we can. We assist. We have a place where all law enforcement in Mobile County come together, the Department of Human Resources. So it's a way to coordinate those services. And without individuals doing it, we just simply wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have an open door for these kids. So it's critical for us. And your money's really transformed into services that offer these kids hope and healing.
Oh, yeah. So it really is up to us as adults. So I know you're still looking for teams, and everybody can sign up through April 23rd at 11 p.m. That is the deadline. And we do have a link on WKRG.com when you search Serve It Up with Love. Thank you so much, Andy.
Oh, thank you for having us, and good luck.